Okay, so I don't hate the Supernova. And it's funny, I made a video like months back talking about them and how they've been slightly overrated, just how everything's transpired in the story for them. Whereas we've been following Luffy and we haven't seen a lot of what their journey has entailed, but based on the bits and pieces we can pick up, I guess the greatest accomplishment we have is Aruja defeating Snack for the entirety of the Supernova. Again, you can put Kid up there in regards to going to Big Mom's territory, taking what he needed and leaving. That's still vague in its own right, because which commander did you hurt? Because yeah, he scarred a commander as well, but which one did you scar? What really happened? I mean, you can spin it however you want to, but the Supernova in general, they haven't had the focus that I thought they would have based on how they were introduced at Sabaody. With that being said, let's revisit that. How important are the Supernova to the end game of Wano? Because I think after chapter 980 and Apu doing what he did, we have to kind of look at them again. How relevant will they be towards the end game of Wano and maybe post? My theory was that every Supernova would meet up in Wano, right? That would be just a Sabaody part 2, and they would have to come together to take down Kaido, and then it would be fighting amongst each other for supremacy on the seas. Yeah, I don't know about that anymore. Bonnie isn't there, Aruj isn't there, Capone isn't there. Everybody else is though. So at that point, like, where do we go from here? We know Aruj has somewhat of a connection to Kaido, where he was in Sky Island with Kaido. There is a running theory. I'm not sure how many of you guys have heard this, but there's a running theory about Bonnie and Momonosuke, whereas Bonnie's going to come to Wano, and she's going to somehow age Momonosuke, and then Momonosuke is going to be able to fight Orochi or Kaido or one of them, and he'll be able to land the final blow on one of them. It's not all that crazy. It's just really unbelievable. Like, for Bonnie coming there and then establishing Bonnie's story, and then Bonnie being somehow connected to the Alliance, and then her helping Momonosuke age to the point that he can defeat Orochi or Kaido. I'm not sure if we can use Nen restrictions here, right? Whereas Gon got as strong as he needed to get to defeat Pito, but I think there's another devil fruit in Wano that could do that. In Shinobu's fruit, the mature fruit, she should be able to control how mature something gets. So what if she uses that on Momonosuke and then he ages to the point where he can defeat Kaido? Granted, I don't even want to focus too much on that because it's far-fetched in its own right, but that's a reason why people think Bonnie could come to Wano. And the last time we saw Bonnie, she was actually in Marijoa. The distance between Marijoa and Wano, we're not really sure. Somebody did say she probably hitched a ride with CP0, then she got to Wano. I'm not ready to go there, but that's something people are saying about her getting to Wano. I mentioned Aruja's connection to Kaido. The difficulty with Aruj is that we don't know any motive or purpose. The last major thing we saw from him was Sky Island, but before that, we know he went to Raijin Island, that lightning island, went to Whole Cake Island, defeated Snack, but what is his purpose? What is he searching for? What does he really want? For Capone, he's currently in Dressrosa, and we know Pound, he's been found in Greenbit. He's going to reunite with Lola and Chiffon. I wonder what comes from that. Could that lead to motivation for them to take down Big Mom and they actually go to Wano? Capone and Wano would be actually cool. A lot of people became fans of Capone based on his showing in Whole Cake Island. He was my least favorite Supernova before that point, and now he's catapulted up the ladder. I think my least favorite is now Apu. But Apu, based on chapter 980, he's gotten more of my respect. So the crazy thing about my feelings about Apu is that I never disliked him. I just liked the other Supernova more. Because I don't hate the fact that he's a traitor and that he betrayed the Alliance and he's working on Kaido, because a lot of people like Blackbeard and essentially they've done the same things. Granted, Blackbeard has accomplished a lot more, so he's gained a lot more people's respect, but you also can't forget Blackbeard going to Impel Down and getting washed by Magellan. Literally. So for Apu, who knows what his endgame strategy is? Of course, it's not to work on Kaido forever, but that's just what you have to do for the time being, and then you strike. So I really think there was no basis for the Apu hate. Now for the other Supernova. And the top three we're not going to talk about as much, and Zoro, I guess. Whereas Luffy, Law, and Kid, we understand how important they are. They're actually in Onigashima right now, and I guess you can include Killer or Kamazo, Fafa. They're actually there right now, so obviously they're integral to the endgame of Wano and actually overcoming Kaido. But Hawkins, X-Drake, Apu, what are they gonna do? Yes, X-Drake and Apu are there as well, but they're on the other side. So let's start with Hawkins. The last we saw of him, he was a puzzle piece made by Law. But we know for a fact, Hawkins will play a role in the endgame because he mentioned not only Luffy's chance of survival, or rather the probability, but also that he has a card that can boost one's limits or boost you past your regular limits from the moment that card was introduced. a lot of people, including myself, felt like that would be a trump card used against Kaido. The issue was, how could we get there? How does Hawkins get to the point that he's betraying Kaido and now helping Luffy? I think the conversation between Law and Hawkins cleared things up, because then we found out Hawkins only went to Kaido because that was the most probability of survival. So for him working for Kaido, it's all about a game of chance for him. Like, what's the best case scenario for me? So with Law, something that we discussed in a stream recently is Law having an advantage now over Hawkins, and Hawkins is essentially now working for Law. The advantage being Hawkins and his heart. In Punk Hazard, we saw Law's ability to extract one's heart and use it as hostage, or have an individual hostage because you had their heart. From Caesar, even Law himself, using someone's heart, by using someone's heart, you can force them to do your bidding. In kind of a way, Smoker as well, but that was more so to Smoker's moral code and his own pride. But that could be something that Law could do, whereas Law currently has Hawkins' heart, so Hawkins is going to come in at the end and help the Alliance, because that's just the best case for survival right now. So I think other than the card, Hawkins could play an integral role in just shifting the tide, just coming in at the end, and also his power. How do you set it up for someone once you get killed? How can you choose the person to get destroyed? We know he uses his dolls, but how does one become a doll? What are the requirements? What are the prerequisites? And I think once that's found out, Hawkins could really be the X factor. Now let's talk about another possible X factor in X Drake. See what I did there? Anyway, X Drake is a peculiar one because we know he's a sword member, but we don't know his purpose. Something that scared me in 980, well, I'm not sure if it scared me, but it was something to take note of, is a possibility that X Drake has already been found out. Queen mentions that he himself is going to take out one of the Flying Six today, meaning that's a definite. It could go back to the conversation again about who's who and Sasaki taking on a commander or king or queen or whatever, but what if it's different? What if they know X Drake is a traitor and this announcement that Kaido has could have something to do with it? Whereas like, hey, X Drake, I know you're a traitor, now you're forced to duel one of my commanders, in particular Queen. That would be insane. Whereas this is used as entertainment. And I think Queen being kind of the MC here, it would be fitting for him to be the one that's taking down X Drake because it's a form of entertainment. And based on Queen, from what we've seen in Udon, he enjoys things like this. But let's say X Drake isn't found out. How does he maneuver in Onigashima? Personally, I think right now the Alliance has so many people that for Kaido's side, they need more people to have actually great matchups, or at least that's how I felt. Until I remembered Big Mom is there with her crew. Not their entire crew, but even though that possibility is there, I know it. Listen, personally, I would lose my shit if Katakuri is seen coming out of a mirror, not only because he's one of my favorite characters, but because of what he brings with him, not only his strength, but competence. So for them to overcome someone like that and then bring in Cracker and Snacks, seeing his abilities, that would be insane. So X Drake would probably need to cross over to the Alliance side to give us some balance. And us, I mean the Alliance, right? I'm rooting for the Alliance, right? That's obvious. I think for the underlings of the captains, where Killer and Zoro will obviously have a more prominent role than Killer. Like, Killer doesn't even know who he is right now. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but I'm not sure the focus for Killer will be there. I think he's going to have moments in Wano, like in the final fight, but I'm not sure how much focus Oda will give his character. If Oda does want Kid to be an appropriate rival for Luffy, then Killer needs an amazing moment, not equal to Zoro, but pretty close to set it up post Wano. If we're going to have a Kid Pirates versus Straw Hat Pirates post Wano, and that's going to be what catapults Luffy to the next level, like he defeats Kid, and then from that battle, he's ready to face a Yonko, you have to set up the crew. Granted, Kid is the only crew in the entirety of the Supernova that has prominent people beneath him that we know of and that is somewhat capable of doing things. We learned more about Capone's crew and Gotti and Vito and those guys. They didn't really do anything of note in Whole Cake Island, but for Kid's crew, with Heat and Wire and also Killer, they were introduced back then, and so I expect somewhat of a decent role for all of them. We already got some characterization of his crew and how they operate on the way to Onigashima, so maybe we get some more of that. But one thing is clear, the deciding factors of this battle will absolutely be the Supernova. We expect most of them to be on the side of the Alliance, but how integral they are to the plan is anyone's guess. What's important here about the Battle of Onigashima is the ripple effects of what happens. Like, the outcome is going to be so important to the future of One Piece, not from the reader's perspective, but the characters within the story. Because once the smoke clears and then you start giving credit to these different individuals, it changes the tide of the seas, and then that may lead to another small war between the Supernova in a battle for supremacy amongst them. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you think this plays out with the Supernova? What do you think they do? Who do you think gets the most credit outside of Luffy, Law, Kid, and Zoro? Out of all of those guys, and you can include Killer as well, amongst the others, who gets the most credit? And who comes out with the most spoils outside of the main 4 or main 5? But give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Follow me on Twitch.tv/BragoDAce. I appreciate the support, guys. I really do. Again, like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.